Hi there. I'm hoping that everybody can be directed to the right place. Having a little bit of challenges with YouTube Live, as it's a pretty brand new technology that we're just getting accustomed to right now. But please, as you join in, share your name and what school you're from and what country you're coming from, and we'd love to learn more about you as well. And yeah, so I can see that, oh, we've got a couple of people here. Wonderful. So as I was saying that, welcome to our Getting Started workshop. It's just a short webinar that we have to introduce WorldVuze and how you can use this technology in your classroom in lots of interesting ways. Yeah, please, if you can find the chat, which is on the left-hand side of your screen, it'd be wonderful to hear a little bit more about you and what school you're from, what country, grades you teach. It'd be fantastic. So feel free to also comment or add any thoughts or questions to that box as well as we go through. So I'm actually just going to share my screen here so that we can all, here we go. Hopefully all of you can see this properly, and let's see. I'm wondering why it looks like a lot is going on here, so hopefully you're not seeing all that. But I wanted to just first introduce WorldVuze and what we're all about, and also thank the Global Collaboration Day team for having all of these wonderful events for the international community to learn how they can collaborate and work together and learn together. So my name is Julia Coburn. I'm one of the co-founders of WorldVuze, which is just to give a little bit of a background. WorldVuze is a nonprofit educational platform that allows for students all over the world to be able to share and explore perspectives with other students. And they're based on questions that are posted by their own classrooms about what you're learning about in your class on many different subjects, as well as some questions that are being asked by our nonprofit partners and experts. So just a little background of how WorldVuze began. We actually started back quite a while ago. Before we created this idea for WorldVuze, we did a lot of collaborations between schools in Tanzania, and we're actually from Canada. And we use lots of different technologies and strategies to connect young people together. And there's so many wonderful ways to do that now. But one thing that we really felt challenged by was that with one class to one class or one student to one student, we felt that perhaps there was a very limited perspective that these students were exposed to each other's places in the world. This idea for WorldVuze came from, to actually have a place where a global community can learn together, but not just from one perspective or a classroom of perspectives from any one place, but actually from a diversity of perspectives. So for example, in Tanzania, looking at the school that we've been working with, it'd be interesting to actually have this place where we're not just learning from the rural community where these students were coming from, but also from the city in Dar es Salaam, and there's multiple cities and multiple villages and towns and regions, and learning about all of their experiences. So just to pull back an example of where this, what kind of happens when you look at a diversity of points of view, even from the perspective of a class alone. We actually did an exercise with these classrooms that I just showed you that was looking at the question, what do you think is the biggest problem where you live? And so in addition to the students answering this question from their own perspective of their own communities, we also asked these students to answer the question as if they were a student from the other community they were partnering with. So I want to show you what the students in a classroom in Toronto, Canada, what they thought were the biggest problems in the community they partnered with, which is in a rural community called Kigoma in Tanzania. And so as you can see, the biggest and most common response from these students was water issues. So they actually thought the biggest problem was water issues in this rural community of Vinza, Tanzania, which is in the Kigoma region. And actually they ended up being so convinced that this was the biggest challenge that they were prepared to strategize about how they would actually solve this problem for the students in Tanzania. And before they were ready to actually ship them a container of water bottles, we actually showed what the students in this particular classroom in Vinza, Tanzania actually said were their major problems. And actually, it was quite different than what the students in Toronto would have anticipated. Starting with a really common response, dangerous animals, to resource issues and bad behavior. Way down the list was water issues. So I think just right before I get into WorldVuze itself and helping navigate the platform, I just wanted to really share how important it is. I'm just going to hide this here. Whoops. Okay, I just wanted to show how important it is to, as we have our community is so global, we're so interconnected, and all of these challenges are so, they are complex. They require a different kind of skill set and mindset and abilities for us to collaborate and work together, communicate, but the interesting thing is the way that young people and the world is actually getting our information. We think as so much of our time is spent online, and the access to information is absolutely incredible. Yet actually when you look at the patterns of, studies have investigated the patterns of social media use of teens, and they find that actually teens their online environments are just as socially and they're just as homogeneous or non-homogeneous as their day-to-day lives. So it actually tends to replicate what they're experiencing already, and not necessarily getting them outside of their comfort zones. And so that's really what our goal is to bust young people and their classrooms outside of our bubbles and get us to learn what other people are thinking worldwide, also across your own countries and communities, and connect to people that you may never have been able to connect to, and have a deeper understanding of many different perspectives and ways of thinking. So now without further ado, I want to just give a bit of a tour of our platform. Sorry about that. I'm going to get into that. I'm just going to check back in onto here the Google Hangouts system. I want to make sure that if you've added anything to the chat, please feel free to do that. And message me if you're having any challenges with viewing any of this material as well. Okay, I just want to double check that. Okay, so you can still see my screen. Wonderful. So WorldVuze, essentially it's a platform we've designed just for elementary, middle, and secondary schools. It's for their teachers and their students only. So the first thing to know is that we actually, when teachers sign up to WorldVuze, we actually vet and confirm that every teacher that signs up is in fact a real teacher. Most of the time that's coming from their school board, school district, email address that we can confirm, and which is confirmed by that educator. Other times in some areas of the world, we will actually have to connect to that school in particular and validate the teacher. Another thing is that every student that's on WorldVuze needs to be connected to at least one or more teacher to use the site, and they need to be part of an active classroom. And I'll show you how that works. That way that we have students that we know are in fact real students, and they always have at least one adult educator in connection to them. So there's that responsibility there. So I'm going to sign in. This is what a teacher will see on the site. I'm going to walk through basically the basic functionality of the platform, as well as some of the functionality you'll have as an educator. And then I'm going to dig into just a couple of things that the students will see that you won't actually have this exact same functionality as the students, but you'll have most of it. So the first thing I want to show you is that all of these questions. So again, these are questions posted by classrooms worldwide. You can navigate all of the questions. There's a couple of arrows here. You can actually click and just see questions that have been asked already by classrooms, and it'll show up on the map where they're coming from. So you can see now it's going to Hong Kong, and they've asked you, did man really land on the moon? So these are kind of an assortment of questions being asked over time. Another way that you can look for questions is by filtering questions by categories. We have a few different categories here, by age range, time that they were asked. And another really big thing, and something that we highly recommend, is we have a search bar here. This will allow you to look for questions based on specific topics or themes. You can also search by a country or a city, and that will pop up any questions or activity coming from those areas of the world. So for example, I want to dig into just one topic theme, which is climate change. So you can see I've already done this search before. If you click on that, it'll actually pop up all of these questions that where climate change was in the question or discussed as part of the conversation. So for example, this question from Belleville, Ontario is, how do you know climate change is really happening? Another one from St. Genevieve, United States, was, what is the biggest environmental concern in today's world? Another one is from Toronto, which of the following is the most important environmental issue or concern in your school? So I'm going to go into this one question asked by a grade 11 and 12 class in Missouri, United States. So you can see here there were responses so far from 3 countries, and there were 82 answers so far from students and 5 comments. I'll show you what a mind shift is in a second. So as a student, I'll show you a student view in a little bit, but actually what they'll have is this question is going to post and show up to them, and it'll prompt them to choose between a couple of different options that the classes entered in, as they're multiple choice, but it's also open-ended. So for example, for this question, if I'm a student and I believe that the biggest environmental concern is climate change, I would click on climate change, but I would also need to actually write why it is I am thinking that way. So every time there's always going to be some context added. So what's really interesting is that there's a lot of different ways that students can, and you as an educator with your classroom, can explore these different points of view. First, you can use this really handy pie chart. So it's going to give the overall, you know, how people are thinking about this topic. So you can see there's actually right now 3 major environmental issues that have come to the forefront: climate change, water pollution, and air pollution. And lack of clean water and loss of biodiversity are not as prominent, but they're still part of the conversation. It'd be interesting going back to this question over time and seeing if that will change. Another thing which is really, really fantastic is looking at the different countries. You can filter by country. So for example, if I filtered to the United States, not only now it's going to show me all of the answers coming from students from the United States. It also filters down by region. So in the United States, students answered from Missouri, Illinois, and New Jersey so far. So that could be interesting, especially want to explore the context within even one country. So I may even want to explore different answers posted by students. For example, this student was talking about water pollution and was sharing their response. I may also prompt my students. Another really interesting thing that you may want to do is actually prompt my students to first answer the question and share their own perspective, and then actually look at a point of view that may be different from their own. For example, if I thought climate change was the most prominent environmental issue, I may prompt my students, okay, look at another option, and actually read through their points of view on that topic, and perhaps see how you think about that, where their arguments stand up to your own. Perhaps maybe I look at just loss of biodiversity, which is under D. I actually can filter the answers by answer choice, and then start to read their real student responses, which is a pretty interesting and valuable exercise. Another thing which some schools we just introduced is this ability for classrooms to have their own profile. So you can add a picture of your class, or something that represents your class, as well as a little description of your class as well in there. So I'm just going to check in to see any questions that you might have. I'm happy to answer it as I go along. Fantastic. So I'm going to go back to the main page here, the dashboard. I want to show you that one other thing in terms of it as an educator. So as an educator, you're able to see all of your own students' activity at any one point in time. And this is really important so that on WorldVuze, students are known by their username, which is non-identifying, but as their educator, you actually know exactly who they are by name. So it's quite helpful to have that. So I can click on an individual student and actually read everything that they've posted, all of their answers and comments to other students, mind shifts. Again, I'll have to show you what that looks like. But that's really helpful in terms of the student being able to share their authentic point of view, but at the same time have accountability to their educator. Again, just in terms of in terms of looking at the safety of this platform, we've done a lot to ensure that. So on one level, we have a profanity filter running through the entire platform. So that takes out any profanity, obviously, as well as email addresses, phone numbers, things like that. It's quite helpful, so it won't even show up on the site at all. And additionally, if any student wrote anything that you as an educator believe is not appropriate content, or any student that is using WorldVuze deems to be inappropriate, they can actually flag any answer or comment as inappropriate, and that will send a message to the teacher of that student whose post was flagged, to the student themselves, and to the WorldVuze team. And it's that way we all have the ability to address that issue as it may. So I want to just check in if there's any questions again. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to continue on. Another thing that's been really exciting, that's we're growing more opportunities for specific events and initiatives in terms of taking action. So for example, last spring we had an initiative with UNICEF Canada, which was oriented around called the Better Than Before Challenge, and it was looking at child well-being from the context of a Canadian perspective, but obviously internationally is, having perspectives internationally is so important. And it was really about having these take action opportunities are about giving up students opportunities to actually have their voice heard in a meaningful way with authentic partners and nonprofit partners that are trying to either advocate for young people or working on social, environmental, or educational initiatives that can provide learning experiences for students in classrooms or also opportunities for real world change and action. So we're really excited about that. And so there's this take action button at the, they're highlighted right here in purple on your dashboard page. It's also on the main homepage, so just keep taking a look at that. If you sign up to WorldVuze, you'll also get notifications through e-blasts about really exciting initiatives coming up like that, and so we're happy to share that with you to keep you up to date. I just wanted to share another piece of WorldVuze. There's a lot of different elements, but as you get a hang of it, it'll become more and more second nature. Really, the biggest thing is that as a classroom, you're able to actually ask your own questions, and this actually goes to this global community of students to be able to share their own perspectives. When you're asking your own question, it's really important to be able to work with your class and discuss, what does a powerful question look like? What are we trying to actually learn from students by asking this question? And from that, you can brainstorm and then come to post your question finally on WorldVuze. So what you would do is, actually another thing is that the questions are coming from the teachers themselves on behalf of your class. So the students right now aren't able to post the questions, and the reason for that is we wanted to have some filter around the content of the questions, as well as have a little bit of control over the number of questions to answer ratio. But we really highly believe that it is important that the questions are part of a classroom effort. So what you would do as a teacher is you type in your question here. I'm not going to actually post this, but I'll just show you how this works. You would choose your class. So I'm going to go back and show you actually how you create a class and how you go about doing that. But you actually can have multiple classrooms as an educator. So I can choose Ms. Coverin's grade 5 class. If I have a YouTube video or Vimeo video that I want to connect this to, this is a new feature that we're really excited about. It allows you to, as a class, either ask and film your own video that's going to describe and give context to your question, or you can actually find a video through, maybe it's a BBC video, maybe it's a TED Talk that you want people to look at before answering your questions. So you can add that in right here. Alternatively, you can also add an image. So maybe it's a picture or a quote, something that may prompt that discussion. So you can upload the image here. So that's also a new feature that we've added, and excited to see all of you start to use that. The next piece to adding your question is the multiple choice options. There are lots of ways that you can actually be really creative. I know that there's often we have people ask us about multiple choice questions and how it may limit some of that open-ended kind of responses they're looking for. But because every time students always have to answer and write a description of why they've chosen any answer, why they are holding a certain perspective, it actually adds kind of the best of both worlds, and an ability to be able to find patterns and perspectives, but also to dig deeper and understand why people are thinking the way they do. So here you're going to have to add a couple of multiple choice options. Again, a great exercise with your classroom to actually brainstorm and maybe even dig deeper into the topic to even think about what those options may be. We have as default, I don't know, an other. So other is fantastic because there's always going to be something that you may miss, so that allows for students to fill in that gap and share some of those perspectives that maybe your class didn't think about. The other thing is you have your categories here. You can choose from different options that can match your question most closely, and again, a way for other classrooms to be able to find your question more easily. The last couple things is your topic tag. So if your question was on climate change, you might want to enter that in here. You can have multiple topic tags, and it's another great way that other classrooms can find your question and have discussions with other classrooms thinking and exploring the same topics. The last couple of things we have here is you can add links. So if you, for example, maybe with climate change, you are following a recent conference and you want to have a link to that, or you want to link to a UN definition of climate change. Again, in terms of definitions, you may bring up different terms in your question that you may want to define, and here's a place you can do that. So once you're done, you can submit it, and then just wait for your the answers to your questions to come in. I'm just going to check back here. How are we doing? Okay. Okay, so the last but not least, I want to show you your profile section. There's lots of different functionality that you have here that's available to you. One thing, in terms of keeping track of all of your questions, the first page you'll have is a list of all of the questions that your class or classrooms have asked before. So you can see how many people have been answering them from how many countries. It's pretty helpful to have this just at your fingertips. Next, you have your students tab. So once you have students in your classrooms, there's a lot of different functionality you have available here. First, as you have the names of your students, their username. You can reset their passwords if you need to. This is here as we don't have student email addresses for their own safety. It also has their age listed here. You have the ability to suspend students if you at all need to. For example, that's an additional layer. If there's a student that you believe is continuously behaving inappropriately, then you have that option, but we haven't actually seen that used yet, so we're happy about that. And then here you can change the student's username if you believe that it's something that maybe needs to be changed for whatever reason. Make sure that you give that username to your student because that's how they're going to log in. And the last piece here is classes. So we have here, you can see in this view that there's multiple classes available that you can create yourself. So to create a class, you click Create a Classroom. You enter in the class name. So that's going to be the name that is going to be viewed by the entire WorldVuze community. Next, you're going to enter in a class description. So you can describe what your class is all about, what you're trying to learn right now, maybe a little bit of how many students you have. you know, if they're boys and girls, it gives some context to your class. You'll enter in the grade that or form level that your class is from, and the subject. So there's a drop down of different subject areas that you can choose from. The next step is you put the class end date. This is really important as, for example, I was explaining that students need to be connected to at least one or more classrooms in order to use WorldVuze. So when the class ends, they actually won't be able to access WorldVuze until they are, again, a part of a new classroom. And that ensures that students, for example, over the summer holiday, over the couple of months, they're not on the platform without any educator there to support them. The next, you'd enter in numbers, the age range of your actual students. This is another way that when students are signing up, I'm going to show you in just a minute the student side. This is a way that when students are signing up, they have to be within that age range that you set. So they're not going to say that they're 205. And then we have the viewing age, which is an optional thing you can set. It would essentially limit what your students are able to see on the platform. So if you wanted, for example, your students only to see content from students between 6 to 14 years old, you can set that. We don't highly recommend it because it does limit the views that your students would be exposed to, but it is available to your class if you choose it. And the last piece, it's an option that you have. If you can actually share your classroom with other teachers that are at your school. So as more educators sign up to WorldVuze from your school, or if you have a partner teacher that you work with, you can work with them in tandem with this. And okay, so I'm going to show you now just how your students will sign up to WorldVuze. It's quite simple on their behalf. So what you do is you'd create your class. For example, I'm going to take this example of Ms. Coburn's grade 5 class. I actually am going to take this class code. This is a really important thing. It's unique to each classroom that is out there. And you can write it on the board or send it to your students in various ways in which you're working. And then when you're, I want to make sure that I choose, I may choose this class here. Okay, so I'm going to actually sign up a mock student here. So here your students would go on to worldvuze.com, they click on sign up, and it automatically has I'm a teacher. You're going to go to I'm a student. Here they would type in their first name and last name. I'm just going to put student example. And then the next thing they'll do is enter their username. So we just please reiterate to your students that their username should be something they can remember, and also something that doesn't identify them personally. So it's not going to be their first and last name. Again, as a teacher, you're able to change their username if you look at it and if there's something that needs to be changed about it. So I'm going to just say student, 56. And then students are going to enter in their password. It should be something that they're going to remember. And it needs to be at least 6 digits or letters long. They'll enter if they're male or female, their age, and then the registration code is the class code that you will give your students. They'll enter that in, and then all they'll need to do from there is click on sign up. Whoops, I need to. And then here we go. So now I'm in as a student. I can now join in the conversation, and I can see if there's any questions asked that I want to explore, or my teacher may actually direct me to some questions that may be relevant to what we're learning at this particular time. I want to show you just one view of what they would actually get. So here, as a student, you can see right away this question pops up, and I'm prompted to answer it. This question: who do you look up to as a role model? And then I can choose from the various options available. I may choose a person in my family, type in Y. Again, have that ability to explore all these different responses from students around the world. In this case, students from 7 different countries. If I typed in an answer as a student and I'm looking through all these other perspectives and actually change my way of thinking, that's this opportunity for something called a mind shift. And that's a button, right? It's a yellow button that your students are going to have right next to the tally here. And it's a way for them to actually type in and share their change in thinking. So that could be a really exciting thing for you to share with your students. So I'm going to turn off my my screen share here and get back to the video. But I wanted to ask all of you, if you know, maybe a little bit about yourselves, if you can access the chat box at the side. And I wanted to ask, you know, what you're currently teaching, any subjects or themes that you're curious about adding a global angle to, and how we can help you do that. So yeah, please feel free to type that in, and I'm happy to be here for the next little while to answer some of your questions or brainstorm some ideas with you. So I'll wait for a little bit, but I wanted to say that if any ideas come to you, or if you have any other questions, to please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're happy to answer any of your questions, or and also stay in the loop with more resources that we're going to be providing for teachers. We have a partnership with a wonderful organization. If you aren't aware of them, they're called the Critical Thinking Consortium, and they have some wonderful resources for educators on how to build and infuse critical thinking into their classroom. So we're excited about a workshop that's coming up in October. We'll be announcing that to the community, so please stay tuned with that. There's also some other resources and materials that we continue to add to our website in terms of case studies, and we're looking to have more activities and lesson frameworks available for you. So please feel free to add suggestions of things you'd like to see, and we're happy to always listen to your ideas and you know, help. You're a big part of this community, and it's really your community, and so we're excited to have that grow and expand. So I'm going to just leave you with my information here, so you can continue to stay in touch. So here's my email address, julia@worldvuze.com. Obviously a website, www.worldvuze.com, and you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at WorldVuze. So again, email me, join and sign up with your class. It's free to use, explore, and you'll be part of our e-blast as well. So you'll stay up to date with all of our exciting initiatives, as well as resources to support classrooms and using this technology to build critical thinking skills, collaboration skills, communication skills, how you can actually include that in many areas of your curriculum whether it's social studies, geography, to math and science. It's a flexible technology that can be included in many different ways, in interdisciplinary ways. And we're excited as a community to be able to continue to build on that and work together with you as a community of educators, but also provide some really valuable resources from our partners for you. So thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much to the Global Collaboration Day team for making this all happen. And please stay in touch with all of the other wonderful initiatives that are happening this wonderful Global Collaboration Day. Enjoy the rest of your days, and thank you again for joining me, and stay in touch. Bye for now.